Hi class, how are you? This is again Beheshta Azizi and today we are going to explain more about our lesson plan about listening tips. First of all, I would introduce the materials we are going to use in our class. Our video podcast is How to Tell a Story, TED, on YouTube and other social media. You can find it. A projector and a smartboard. We are going to use smartboard for some listening and speaking tips. Printed transcript, excerpt, simplified and annotated for vocabulary, and we have some listening task worksheets. For example, main idea, details, and vocabulary, and your smartphones or tablets with voice recording apps and a whiteboard and markers. These are the materials, and what you are going to learn by this video is by the end of this lesson, students will be able to identify the structure of a personal story, beginning, conflict, and resolution, recognize the understand uh, storytelling related vocabulary and expressions, and retell a simple story from memory with key details and emotions, and use voice recording tools to practice fluency, pacing, and expressiveness. Okay, here I would give about 10 minutes to the student to think about this question. What makes a story interesting? Yeah, the students would have about 10 minutes to do this practice, and it's like warm up activity and objective discussion. And for brainstorm, elements of good stories like characters, settings, conflict, and etc. Tell a student. Today we'll listen to a podcast about storytelling and then tell our own mini stories. Yeah, in this way, students would be more careful about watching videos and listening videos. And then I would introduce lesson objectives and write them on the board. In this way, they would motivated and attracted to the main lesson as well. Okay, after this 10 minutes finished, we would have to do some abstract and model about 15 minutes, like pre-teach vocabulary. For example, hook, hook, climax, pacing, emotion, relatable, their pronunciation, and their translation. I would practice them all with my students, and um, after that, we would play 2 or 3 segments of podcast, about 10 or 20 seconds, or something about this time, and note taking on structure and word usages. And I would show a visual example of this story on the board as much as possible. After these 15 minutes completed, I would take time to the students about guided practice, about 15 minutes. Students listen to the full podcast about 7 minutes at maximum and pause at 3 points to discuss main idea and vocabularies. Okay, at the first I would play videos for myself, and then I would select 3 main idea or main points there, and after each main idea I would pause the video and ask students like what make the storyteller effective, what story example stood out, questions like this that attract the mind of my students as well. Okay, after this 15 minutes, I would take time for independent practices for my students. Like, students should write a short personal story using a structured discuss. For example, what each story was about. Uh, Students have to write their own stories if it's similar to the video or different. Try to write some and find some similar events in their real life and explain it to the other students and record themselves telling the story using their device like video audio recording or video recording, and as an optional practice, add a background music or sound effects using apps like Wakaro, Flip, or Padlet. This way would make them more motivated to practice more on their lessons and their structures. And at the end, I would do some assessments, like, for example, assessment for listening, for speaking, and teacher circulate to evaluate their speaking fluency. Okay, for listening section, uh, I they would complete a gap fill and multiple choice based on podcast transcript. This is the most popular practice for listening and assessing their listening level. And then for their speaking, share recordings in small groups. Peers give feedback using a checklist like clarity, fluency, story structure, and etc. And teacher circulates to evaluate speaking fluency, vocabulary use, and engagement. Dear uh, viewer, we are going to use this lesson plan for our listening and try to make some interested practices for our students to enjoy their class and their lessons as well.